So, part 4. Or, no, 5. I think. Maybe. I've lost count. Anyway, after the cutscene, unskippable cutscene, we ran to Clan Hall. Now, I didn't really talk about Destia Guild too much, but you should pay attention to how much guild did you have in Destia. And here I will show you will show you my notes again. And here is the number you need, and then reduced by any items and stuff. And if you have this much gil, or if I have this much gil, I will skip Clan Hall, which is what I was not able to do in my PB. And this one is sort of like the absolute minimum I want from a run. But yeah, you can get away with a little bit less or more, and whatever works for you. But this is what I would have liked to get in this run. But I was not. I had something like. Hold on. I had 29 and 1, so let's just calculate what it is. Yeah, I had like 17k. So nowhere close to being able to afford skipping Clan Hall. So oh, whoops. Oh yeah. So yeah, if you have enough money, instead of going here to the Clan Hall, you would just use the Moogle. I guess I could go back and show you where the Moogle is. The Moogle is right there. That NPC you can talk to is the Moogling Moogle. And yeah, you would Moogle to Southgate if you were able to skip this Clan Hall. But because I didn't have enough money, I just went to the Clan Hall. And you can't just talk to the door, you have to talk to this person to let you in the first time you go. And since this is obviously the first and last time we go to the Clan Hall, we talk to that Banga instead of the door. So if you didn't kill the demon wall, you would get like 1250 gil from here, and that would be pretty much it. Some potions and teleport stones, but that's about it. But here's the reason why we kill the demon wall. Here. 1200 gil and nugget of electrum. And 1200 gil in itself is quite a lot, but the nugget of electrum is the real treat, which sells for 3.5k. And makes the combined gil you get from here to about 6k. So that's really nice. So after that, you are not running back, or sorry, I misspoke earlier. You do not Moogle to Southgate, you would Moogle to Sensi. And here you just run to the Technic Shop, which is our next destination. This running here is a little bit faster than running back to the Moogle and Moogling to Sensi. But yeah, here we buy a move called Traveler. I should actually pause it right here. Here you can. Here is the step number that you have, and what's important. You don't care anything about what's in the first slots, but you care about the last 3 digits. And how Traveler works is that you cast it, and it deals damage based on the last time, or what these 3 digits were the last time you used it, compared to what they are when you actually use it. And these are like your steps, so every time you take a step, you like get one extra step. And or it's actually more like distance traveled, because like if you get knocked back and you like slide backwards, or an enemy pushes you or something, you can it costs some steps. So yeah, there's the 3 digit, like last 3 digits is that counts. And what's important for well, I guess I should explain it all. From if that number is like, let's say I cast Traveler now. If the next time I cast Traveler, my steps would be from 527 to 627. It deals damage equal to that number. So that number, or the difference between that number and this number. So for example, if you took 100 steps and it would be at 627, you would deal 100 damage. If you took 1100 steps, the last 3 digits would be 627, and you would deal 100 damage, and so on. Then from 101 to 250, is it 250? No, it has to be more. I actually forget. Do I have to look this up? I think I do. So give me a second. I don't remember now I'm forgetting the threshold. I thought it was 100, but it might be 150 or 250 even. Or 200. Let's see. Traveler. Oh no, it's from 0 to 99, it deals that not much. So actually I was wrong. At 100 it would deal 200. It would have dealt 200 damage at 627 and 1100 steps like that. And then it's from 100 to 499, where it deals twice that much damage. So let's say, well, I already said the 627 example. And then from 500 to 989, it would deal deal 3 times that much damage. So 900, for example, 989 at this point would mean being 11 steps less than this. So it would be 516. And in that case, it would deal 989 times 3 damage, which is 2967 damage, which is decent amount. It's a good chunk of damage. But then, if you are between 990 and 999, it deals 10 times that damage. And so, if I cast Traveler here and use it again, when these 3 digits are between 517 and 518, I would deal from 9,990 to 9,999 steps. and it's unblockable. It's AoE. It can be reduced. Like, it doesn't get affected by protect or anything. The only thing that reduces it is the reduced damage augment that some enemies have, which is the same thing that makes the damage cap to be from makes the damage cap go from 9,999 to 6,999. That's the only thing that affects it. Other than that, there's no way to boost or negate the damage. Well, also physical immunity also makes you immune to Traveler. That's the other one. But it's a really convenient spell or technique if you know how to use it right. So 10k damage is a lot at this point. So Traveler is pretty good. And that's why we go and buy it, even though it costs 6,700 damage. But then if you were to take that, if you were at 999 steps and you use Traveler, you would deal the max damage of 9,990. But if you took one more step, you would deal 0 damage with it. So it's kind of risky, but it's the fast way, and it's oftentimes the only real reasonable way of dealing with enemies. Because there are a couple of really annoying enemies that you really need Traveler for. But yeah, that's the explanation of Traveler. You buy it here. Also, here you can check your steps at these points for free. And at the start of the game, it counts from 0. So your Traveler, we call it Traveler number, which is the number it was the last time you used Traveler. But at the start, it's always 0. So you will always, if you use your first Traveler between 990 and 999, then you will deal that much damage, or 10 times that much damage. So that's sort of the goal of me. I would not recommend worrying about that at all if you are a new player or new runner. But at my level, I actually keep track of my steps throughout the whole early game to skip one cast of Traveler. But usually I'm like, if I have to go to the clan hall, I usually can't make it, because going to the clan hall is like 300 steps and it's ridiculous. But how many does the gil I get affects that as well. But I have numbers in my notes. I can show that as well. Where it shows what it is at the different menus. So, hold on. Let me find my... It's this one? Yes. Here you can see, for example, that in the Busherba menu, if I'm at 674 or 004, 674 if I have to go to clan hall, and 4 if I don't have to. And that's like when I'm at where I don't have to burn any extra steps. And if I'm like below that, I will try to burn steps during fights, where it doesn't cost me any time to reach about that number, whichever is the one I need. And for example, this shop would be, or this menu would be this. So here it doesn't get affected by it anymore, so the numbers are pretty even. They are calculated 2 different ways, which is why it's not the same for both of them, but anyway, you would like the number to be at around 600, a little bit less than 600 in this menu, for to be able to skip the Traveler setup for Tiamat. But my Traveler number is not there in this run, if I recall correctly. So another sneak peek to my my notes. And then this menu. So I guess I should go back to the beginning of the menu. Oh yeah, you Moogle here to the... This is the first time in the run where you don't pick the bottom option of your whenever you Moogle, and this is also the last time you Moogle. So whichever way you do, whichever you have to do here, you will not pick up the bottom option. So it holds true until this point that you always pick the bottom option, but not anymore. But it's only these 1 or 2 Mooglings, depending on if you had to go to the clan hall or not. Oh, actually, never mind. My steps are at 573, so I can skip the traveler setup. I forgot I was good on steps. But yeah, here's the menu. Like, Ash is your party leader. So you want to remove Ash first, so Vaughn becomes your party leader, and then insert Bosch. That's the party. And then licenses. You want to start with Vaughn. This is where the zoomed out license board saves most time, because you get that it wants to show me that Belias is there, and then I had to come back here, and it if you had zoomed in license board, then it would take a little bit more time to switch around here. But now you can reach this license a little bit faster. But yeah, you pick up the Roach 1 for Ash and Penelo, and also Staves 2, which is the Flamestaff license, which is very important. So you get those. Then you get for Vaughn, you get these licenses that are all unnecessary, except for the one, but you pick them up because they're on the way to Heavy Armor 4, which is the Shielded Armor. You get the license also for Bosch, but you're gonna be using it first on Vaughn. But might as well. Then get Headsman for Penelo, Poach and Traveler for Balthier, Steel for Bosch, and Belias for Bosch, and accessories 3, 5, and 8 for Bosch. Now, as you can see here, Bosch has 32 LP left. Demon Wall 1, as I mentioned in the last part, was 30 LP. So this is Bosch. If I hadn't killed it, Bosch would have 2 LP right now, and it would be a little bit random whether, depending on like what enemies you killed on Leviathan and stuff, Bosch might not be able to afford this license. So if you don't kill the Demon Wall 1, you have to be a little bit cautious. And if you don't have enough, you would just skip the Belias license for now. Belias license is 10 LP, it's fine. You can skip it. Also, if you don't kill it, you would notice that Ash has now 22 LP, and Penelo has 29, so they would not be able to afford they would have not been able to afford that license. That was Black Magic 3, which contains Fyra, Tandora, and Blazara. Those you would just skip those for now and do an extra menu of licensing for them later, because you're not gonna need them until after the next boss. But this way saves the license menu. But here I'm gonna speed it up again because there's only a Chocobo ride, and yeah. Typically on Chocobo rides, you want to use your sprints in areas that areas like this one, where you can get through the whole sprint in one screen. That's typically the easiest way to do it in my opinion, which is why I think you should do it. And I accidentally used the first sprint at the start of this zone. This was the second zone where you can do it, and the one zone before that was the one. Was another one. There's also cutscene skip here, by the way. And yeah, the last zone is the very last zone where you can do that. And yeah. Yeah, just going to Jahara. This is the fastest path. And there's not much to say about this. It's funny that I spent 15 minutes talking in Rabanastre. Well, almost 20 minutes talking in Rabanastre, which is like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes of speedrun time. Or the actual time. Oh yeah, definitely touch that save crystal before so you can teleport back here later. And then I'm gonna go speeding up a lot in the rest of this part, because this part is like it's not very, there's not too much going on in this segment. It's just a lot of story advancing, and then there's the jelly farm, which I will go slowly at first, but then speed it up eventually. But yeah, here you talk to this Geomancer, or sorry, High Chief, and he gives you the Chaya stick you have to give to Pinello. You actually don't have to give it to him, but it's a good idea because you get a better reward, and it doesn't waste any time, or at least not much time. You have to get it, but you don't have to give it to him. You can sell it for 150 gil, but you get a bowgun. Oh, by the way, these cutscene skips, they do follow the 7-second rule, but it's the pause screen is like it almost, you can get the pause screen at almost 7 seconds, so I usually play it a little bit safe and go for 8 seconds for these cutscenes. But you can do 7. But yeah, you get a bowgun here. Bowgun sells for 1900 gil, and if you didn't, you would get like some other weapon that sells for, I think, 1000 gil. So you would lose 900, but then gain 150. So you would lose 750, or yeah, 750 gil if you didn't, if you don't give it to him. So just give it to him. There's no reason not to. But yeah, then you take the Chocobo. It's free. This time you just use all your sprints as soon as possible. And here, this chest can contain a golden amulet. I should probably check. I think it's like 10% chance, a little bit more than 10% chance of being a golden amulet. But if it is a golden amulet, it's 4,500 gil that it saves, and you have a golden amulet for Chalice 1, which means about 70 LP more for Bosch, at least. So, even though it takes a little bit of time to get, and even if it's only 10%, it's pretty, it's pretty good. And then this chest can contain a red cap, but it was only gil. And then you want to berserk Bosch. Bosch, I should probably go about this a little bit more slowly. So you want to have that berserk cast so that it hits right before you get to that Chocobo, because we're gonna go and ride that Chocobo. So you want to time it like that, and because it's a little bit it changes a little bit where the chocobo is, so you kind of had to adjust accordingly. I think it's better to do it too early than too late, but whatever. I tend to do it too late anyway. So there's because he moves, there's no real like cue you can use, so you just have to have a feel for it. And then it doesn't help that the chocobo moves around. Like sometimes he just randomly starts walking towards you, and then you have to wait for the berserk to land. Yeah, that was pretty much perfect. Like berserk landed right before I reached the chocobo. And the berserk is not 100% to land. It can definitely miss. If that happens, just take the chocobo anyway. Here's more cutscene skips. This one, the 7-second rule, again, it works, but it's really tight, so I usually go for like 5 seconds. Like this time it's tight from the other end, so I go for 5 seconds for this one, but 7 seconds works if you actually remember to start counting right from the first cutscene skip. But I usually go for 5 to be safe. Because it's not actually that long, the period in that one where you have the pause screen. If there is even is one. I think there is, but it's like really short. And yeah, then here here you want to dismount the chocobo right about here. I don't really have a cue for it. Like you just eventually get a feel for it. But you need to do this before you trigger the cutscene, because the cutscene is low. It loads so much slower if you are on the chocobo. You lose like 3 seconds if you don't dismount before the trigger. And the trigger is right there. Like you can see how fast I reach it once I first I do the menu. The menu is just to replace Bosch with Balfir, and that's preserving Bosch's berserk, so it lasts as long as possible. But yeah, it's immediately right here, the trigger. And yeah, then you go to Erit village. And you do this shop. So in this shop, you buy black belt and equip it on Bosch. And in case you missed it, in the previous when I bought Traveler, I also sold the Electrum and Arcana that I got from the clan hall. And I did that to afford the Chocobo from Rabanastre to Jahara, and to be able to afford that black belt without selling anything here, because I want to sell after equipping the black belt on Bosch, because that way I have the tourmaline ring to be sold in this shop, and also the gil you want to have after the traveler shop is 1100, because that's how much it costs to use the chocobo and to buy the black belt. So yeah, you sell the extra weapons, so everything that's not equipped except for the flame staves, and then the escutcheon, tourmaline ring, bangle. Also sell the red cap if you got it from the chest in Osmone. Not sure if I mentioned it or not. And the onion bolts. And then you can leave. Also sell the Electrum and the Arcana there if you didn't have to sell them after Traveler or before Traveler. Sometimes your guild is so bad you have to sell stuff to be able to afford the Traveler. But yeah, then let's just speed this up, just running past the Erudite village. And after that shop, you want to have 4030 gil at least. 4000 for the shielded armor and 30 gil for the chocobo. And here you can actually squeeze through the wood dweller and the edge of the map there. That's a little trick you can do movement wise. Otherwise, movement is pretty straightforward. Of course, with better movement you have the better, because Traveler requires some pretty good movement if you want to do it optimally. Oh yeah, and then teleport to Jahara. So here's the shop. This is the last time you can check your steps. This is a number that works for me. It doesn't mean that it's a number that works for you. If you even want to consider skipping the Traveler setup, which I don't recommend if you're a new runner, but if you are experienced enough and or want to try it, just figure out what numbers work for you. It's not gonna be the same as what works for me, because movement is gonna be different. Like, my movement is pretty optimal, and if yours is, then great. But if it's even better than mine, then even better. But most of the time, it's like my movement is better than most of the runners, and I'm not trying to like praise myself, but that's just how it is. So that number might not work for you, but it works for me. So you just have to figure out what number works for you, or just don't care about it. I wouldn't blame you for that. But yeah, then I talk to the Judge Hausen there. He gives me 3 high potions and an ether. And then do the chocobo, which is 30 gil. And here you can go for the chests again if you want to. I don't. I think they cost too much time. Especially if I don't have a person to especially if Bosch is, or especially if the Berserk landed on Bosch. Also, you're supposed to dismount before that cutscene, but I wasn't fast enough, or I went too far before dismounting. Oh well. But yeah, Henne Mines. This is the first time where the enemies actually start being scary. So it would not be the worst idea to turn the battle speed on slowest. Maybe not in this first area though. A nice thing about this is that you have a Larsa who will throw high potions at you. But yeah, you first want to press this switch. No, Chocobo steps do count towards Traveler. All movement does, like movement in towns count, movement on Chocobo counts. All movement counts towards Traveler. Even if you're not stepping, as I mentioned earlier, even the movement from knockbacks count towards Traveler. So it can be really annoying if an enemy, like you are right at the 9,000 or you're right at the 990, and then the enemy knockbacks you over the limit, and then the fight is pretty much ruined. But here, this is the zone where you would set up Traveler for Tiamat. It's about 800-ish steps before Tiamat fight. Maybe more like 850, 800 and something. But so this room is where you would use the Traveler. I will show where. Because those steps I had work for me, I'm just casting Berserk on Balthier here, and then taking Balthier out of my party. And because Balthier is targeted by Penelo, I have to remove Penelo first, but that's fine because I'm gonna remove Penelo anyway here, since the Berserk landed. I didn't take Bosch immediately out of the party for the reason that I wanted to keep Penelo in the party, and that's why I didn't immediately take Bosch out of the party. I could have just removed Penelo and put her back in, but then I would have gotten some more load time after the menu, because in this game, every time you put party members in your party and they actually load on the screen, it takes the game a little while to load them onto the map. So it costs a little bit of time to do these party swaps. Like you can well, you can't see it here, but you can see how my steps are at 999 when I'm here, and this is about where I would cast Traveler. So that's how you see the number working for me. But yeah, I would cast the Traveler on these bats over here. Usually they are a little bit earlier. Like usually they are around where Larsa is right now. But it's fine. Either way, you would just use Traveler on them, then open the menu to check your steps. Or if you know exactly how the steps work, you can just look at the damage that shows on the bats and calculate your Traveler number based on that. But again, if you're new to the run, I would recommend starting at least by just opening the menu and checking the number. Oh, and Larsa throws high potions when you are below 50% of your maximum HP, and X potions when you are below 10% of your maximum HP. So, that's how his gambits work. So you can calculate your HP to figure out what exactly is the number you need to be below. So for example, I would have to be 350 or less to for Larsa to throw a high potion, and 70 or less for an X potion. And the enemies here hurt a lot, especially the dinos. And the bats have a move called Leech, which deals like 200 damage. And the dinos have a move called Sonic Fangs, which deals like 350 damage. It can deal almost up to 400 damage even. And it also has a 5% chance of just insta-KOing you no matter what your HP is. And yeah, here Vaughn's HP is below. Like usually you're just fine, and you can see the enemies are readying Leech or Sonic Fangs. I can show you. Well, there was one when they ready to slap, but you should pay attention to that, and you can actually when you learn how much damage the enemies do here. Like as you can see, a dino hit is about regular dino hit is about 100 damage, regular bat hit is about 50. No from a bat is about 90. And RAM from a dino is about 100 and let's say 180. But here you can see, if you see this message and your HP is below 400, well, at this point it would have to be below 350 because otherwise Larsa won't do anything. You should you should stop fleeing and have Larsa throw the high potion. And if you do it fast enough, Larsa will have enough time to throw the high potion on you before the Sonic Fangs actually deals damage. So you are able to avoid it by that. Same thing goes for Leech. If you're about to die, like there you could see it was 387, which is a lot of damage. It's more than half of one's health. But yeah, same goes for Leech. You can avoid it. You can have Larsa to throw a high potion before Leech. And if you haven't Berserked by this point, this is one very good place where you can use a Berserk on your characters. Mainly both here. Because you really want to have Bosch Berserk before you cast Traveler. Which is why I would advise going for the chest, especially if Bosch didn't get Berserk, because that gives you a couple of extra chances of Berserking Bosch. So about the black belt that I bought, it gives you 3 vitality and immunity to disable. The disable immunity is the reason why we buy it. It's Bosch really needs it. Like Tiamat can cast Disable Ga, and disable. You don't want to get disabled, so you give it to Bosch. But it also gives you 3 vitality, and what vitality does, it's 3% less chance for statuses like Berserk to land. But it also makes them last a little bit longer. It makes positive buffs last longer and negatives to last less. Anyway, no matter what your HP is at, you want to touch that teleport crystal so you can teleport back here. Don't make the mistake that many people have made, thinking that it's fine, that you can save a little bit of time not touching that crystal, and then only to realize after the fight that you have to teleport back here. Anyway, this is Tiamat. Tiamat can open with the Disable Ga, and if he does, it's really annoying. Especially if it hits both Van and Larsa. It doesn't definitely hit both of them. It can miss, but it has a chance of hitting Van and Larsa, and that's annoying. Or that would be annoying. So you really want the Disable to not. You really want him not to start with Disable Ga. If he does, there's nothing you. Well, there is a trick, but it won't work with the setup I currently have. But you just have to hope that it doesn't hit both of you. So you run forward a little bit, and then you open the menu to bring in Bosch. You want to do this as soon as possible so that Bosch starts hitting Tiamat. So Bosch is equipped with Cypress Pole, and Cypress Poles deal damage based on magic resistance. And Tiamat's defense is a little bit higher than magic resistance. Also, they deal Earth Elemental damage, and Tiamat is weak to Earth. And this is actually the only time in the remaining of the run, really, where we actually have our characters and not guests use physical attacks to deal damage. So Bosch, bringing Bosch, and then bringing equip the Manufactured Nephesite on Vaughn. And what Manufactured Nephesite does, it halves all elements and gives you the silence status. So both of them are relevant. You really want to have damage from Tiamat's two strongest attacks that are Arrow and Breath. Arrow and Breath are both AoE, so you want to spread out your party. That's why you only bring Bosch here, and then you go a little bit further and then drop Balthier that far enough away from Bosch that they won't get hit by AoE attacks. Also Disable Guys AoE. Anyway. Arrow is Wind Elemental and Breath is Fire Elemental. So it's important that you have the Manufactured Nephesite on when you tank them. Especially Breath would deal a ton of damage if you didn't have Manufactured Nephesite on. Anyway, you bring in Bosch, you bring in Balthier. Now, Lars's attacking gambits are set to... he has two of them, at least. Two that are relevant. And those are... he will start attacking if he is targeted. And he will start targeting if I target Tiamat. So what I do is I try to keep Tiamat attacking Vaughn. Tiamat always targets the closest person, except when he uses Disable Ga, in which case he uses... he targets the person with most aggro, which is most likely Bosch, because Bosch is the first person we bring in. That's why it's important to bring Bosch in first. So what I do is before I start stealing, I actually run around a little bit so that Larsa won't be close to Balthier or Bosch, and then I start stealing, and then Larsa will start then Larsa will start attacking and will stay put, and then I have the Vaughn to complete the diamond shape, like you can see in the minimap there. Or there's like the diamond shape of my characters, so that they will not get hit by the AoE attacks. Or more than one person will not get hit by the AoE attacks. So I steal from Tiamat, because Vaughn's damage is not really that great in this fight, as he is only having the Flame Staff. Even though Flame Staff was a lot of damage earlier, and it's still okay damage, it's not really that much against Tiamat, at least not compared to the Cypress Balls, when Bosch and Balthier are berserked, which increases the physical damage, and their attacking speed, and they combo, and they are hitting the weakness. And they have, well, one also has heavy armor on, but Balthier and Bosch also have a heavy armor on that boosts their strength. But yeah, Tiamat has 50k HP. Well, I guess I'll talk about that later. Then you have to burn a little bit of steps usually during the fight, so that, because you're trying to cast Traveler at the end of the fight. And here you can see that also Tiamat's attacks can petrify you. Vaughn got petrified here, but that's why we have gold needles. But the nice thing about petrify is that if you look at the damage number, that's the number. Whenever you're petrified, both your physical attacks and the physical attacks the enemies deal on you get divided by that number. So right now it's still doing full damage, but it starts getting like, or sorry, it's not divided by that number, but divided by, or it's multiplied by that number divided by 10. So now it's dealing full damage. When it's at 9, it's dealing 90% damage, and so on and so forth. Eventually, if it's at 1, all the attacks will deal 10% damage, which is nice, but of course then you have the prospect of turning into stone. But yeah, and it also reduces your damage. But the nice thing is that if you keep the Petrify on, Larsa will have to heal for less, and because Larsa deals more damage than Vaughn does, it's more important to have Larsa attacking more and having Van as a better tank. Just as long as you remember to remove the Petrify with the gold needle. Also, you can see that I turned off Balthiers Gambits and turned on Bashis if Balthiers Gambits were on, but you usually turn them off, but whatever. That is because Bash has the attacking Gambit, so that's actually useful now. And Balthier has only the steel Gambit, so it's whatever. But that means that once Balthier's Berserk runs out, he will stop attacking and he will try to run towards Vaughn, and that's not what you want. You want Balthier to keep attacking, so you have to be this way. You have to be ready to tell Balthier to attack. But I also have to be ready to use a gold needle on me. And here I also check my steps. You can see my steps are at 963 because I haven't used Traveler yet. My Traveler number is 0, so I need to get to above 990. So I have to take at least 27 more steps. So I have a little bit of steps to burn. For me, how I usually count steps is I run around in circles, and one circle I count as approximately 3 steps. So 27 would mean I would have to do nine circles, although I would do a couple of extra to be safe, but not too many extra. So yeah, so I wouldn't overstep. So here's Breath. As you can see, it only dealt 46 damage because I have the Manufactured Nephesite on, and my Petrified count is so low. So I was waiting for that Breath before I used the Gold Needle. After that, I use that and then tell Balthier to attack. And as you could see, Balthier ran there. That was a mistake. That was a mistake on my part. Balthier shouldn't have ran there. And now Balthier was closest target to Tiamat. And Tiamat attacks Balthier. But Balthier fortunately blocks. So then I get ready to use Traveler. I'm 9 steps away. I checked my number. And now Balthier is walking away, but he got targeted again, and he blocked again. And then I cast Traveler and making sure I'm at the correct steps. And I was just able to take the last step and kill Tiamat with Traveler. So Tiamat has 50k HP, approximately, a little bit less, like 49,000 and something health. So 10% or 10k damage is just when he reaches critical HP, and it's convenient that you can see him flashing. There you can see how he's flashing orange, so you know he's at critical HP, so Traveler will kill him if you deal the correct amount of damage. And that is very convenient because after you reach critical HP, Tiamat has a huge boost in defense on you, or huge boost against physical damage, and you start dealing a very low damage. And that's where the silence part of the Manufactured Nephesite comes to play. And if you overstep Traveler, or if you understep Traveler, or for whatever reason you don't have Traveler, you have to what you would do is after the last breath, you would remove the he always uses 2 arrows and 2 breaths at certain HP marks. It's like 80, 60, 40, and 20%. So after the last breath, you can remove the Manufactured Nephesite safely, and you can recast Berserk on both Bosch and Balthier in that order, because Bosch's damage is higher, so he is better off with the Berserk. And then you can, after they are both back Berserked, you can start using dark. You can use 2 darks on Tiamat. Like you can use dark on Tiamat, then that will make Tiamat cast Reflect, and then you can use another dark before the Reflect actually lands. And that's how you deal with that's how you can deal some extra damage on Tiamat. After that, if you want to still cast darks, you have to reflect yourself. You have to reflect yourself and then reflect dark out of yourself to get by Tiamat's reflect. But then you have to make sure that no one else is like nearby, so that they don't get hit by the dark. And what you can also do is you can use items like Not of Rust, Water Mode if you get that, Dark Mode if you happen to have one. Don't use Arrow Mode because Tiamat absorbs Arrow, which is why you also shouldn't use Arrow, why you should use Dark. And then you just have a long grind to get rid of the last 20% of HP. Not having Traveler typically makes the fight a minute longer, so that's why Traveler is definitely worth it, even for that fight. Even though it's not, if it was just for that fight, it would not be worth it for the 6.7k gil, but because it's also used in a couple of other fights, some of which it's really, really, really important. It's definitely necessary buy. You can skip Traveler for Tiamat if you're really low on gil, but you will have to go back to buy it back eventually anyway. So that concludes this part. And this is the last part I'm doing today, so thanks for watching, everyone, and I will continue this next time. Or I don't know when the next time will be, maybe tomorrow, but I will continue this probably. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you found this useful or interesting or whatever. And I'll see you guys eventually.